Evening. Welcome to another edition of the Hillbilly Think Tank with me, Spencer Keck, here in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. Now, I used to hear a lot of talk about the scripture in each of the first three Gospels: Matthew, Mark, I believe Luke also. And the scripture says that Jesus said, "Suffer the little children to come unto me." When he said this, a lot of his disciples were trying to block children who were trying to make their way to him, up to him. They wanted to climb on him, love on him, be amazed by him, listen to his wisdom. And they tried to prevent him from that. So Jesus saw this action by his disciples and he was upset. I would say enraged. He said, "Suffer the little children to come unto me." Now, I think maybe, possibly, there's a group in America who listens to that King James version of the scripture and thinks that means, hey, we need to make children suffer before they ever can have any rights to hang out with us or to do anything with us, you know? And back then, yeah, maybe you could say that's how it was. Children had no rights. There, up until recently, where I'm from, in the hills of Eastern Kentucky, we used to be said, children should be seen but not heard. If you were a kid, oh Lord, forbid that you ever make any noise around adults, that you ever speak to adults if adults are having a conversation. Now, I still think, yes, children need to know some manners, and we all do. And childhood's the age to teach kids good manners. But I think part of learning to be a good adult is learning how to enter into adult communication, adult interaction, learning how to be polite, how to defer to your elders, but still talk, give your opinions if they're sought after, and then we should, seek them. Wisdom of the mouth of babes, still something that even talked about in the Bible, in the Scripture. But back then, if you were a kid, you had no rights. So for Jesus to say to his disciples, "You better let these kids come here, hang out, talk, and if they want to be kids, let them be kids." That's what he was saying. This is a big deal because his society or his culture, they didn't end that tradition right then and there just because he said so. But it was the beginning of the end of that type of thing. You know, he even went on to be harsher. He said it's better that you hang a big old stone around your neck, a millstone. That's a huge stone they used to grind dry grains to make flour. So you should have that huge millstone hung around your neck and be thrown into the ocean rather than to prevent a child to come to him. Man, wow, that you never enter the kingdom of heaven if you had that type of mentality. Now, why am I going on about this? Because this isn't a religious podcast, even though I definitely grew up, read the whole Bible, I'm versed in it. And I believe in the separation of church and state. But I know there's those who don't, and they want to always preach to me from the government, tell me that I need to listen to their religion. Well, I know my spirituality and its base, and I know what it says about children. So that's why I'm really interested in finding out, as the Courier Journal reported Monday, October 13th, today, that the Special Education Office has been erased in DC. This is all part of Project 2025. Get rid of the Department of Education, number one, and definitely get rid of any special help for the vulnerable in our society. So the special education office today has been absolutely erased. There are no more special education department or subsection in the Department of Education. It's gone. All of those employees have been riffed today, reduction in force. Right, 4,000 Americans got a reduction in force notice today, and those notices went out to the Department of Education, the Department of Energy. Remember, the Department of Energy, these are the guys who do a lot of different things, but one of their big hats is they go around the globe with nuclear fission detectors, radiation detectors to teeny tiny countries, and they help these teeny tiny countries detect when people are trying to build dirty bombs and possibly could bring those dirty bombs from those teeny tiny countries into ours. But we're going to fire those guys now. So they're not going to be doing that job. That's great. You know, we're getting rid of 1,100 to 1,200 jobs in the Department of Health and Human Services. Oh yeah, because we don't need health. We don't need human services. You know, we'll just anoint people with oil. That'll be enough, right? God didn't give us a brain so that we could study science and heal people through modern medicine. No, it's supposed to all be done through just prayer. That's it. You know, that's all that we want to afford. You know, no more of taking care of the health of the vulnerable either. But back to the kids. So anyone who worked to administer funding for the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, the primary federal law supporting students with disabilities, done. Just read this in my morning paper, which I got around to when I got back from work today. Right. So, this came as a shock, I assume, to those who now have been completely fired, not for not doing their job, but for doing their job, for taking care of the little children. So the good modern interpretation of suffer little children is let the little children come unto me. You know, I work in public education, and the folks who are really doing the Lord's work in public education are my friends that take care of not just the special needs kids, which now aren't going to get any funding, but the dire, dire cases of kids with severe mental disabilities. These teachers and aides to these teachers, man, they are doing hard, hard work, but they love it. You can see that spirit of love deep in them every time they help these kids learn how to live, interact, and behave in this cruel adult world. And they do that every single day. We have one team, Miss Gonzalez. She gets these kids around my school. She's a veteran too, the Marine Corps. Brings them around to my school, around to every classroom to see if the teachers want to buy some coffee, tea, or sodas from them. And they get to learn to count money and to do these tasks, just like regular folks that they are. And they're treated like the regular folks that they are. They're not treated like they're folks that we need to shun. But what are we doing with now saying we're not going to give any money to those teachers to teach these kids how to hold themselves up with pride? We're not going to do that. We're not going to let these children come unto us in our society. We don't deem them worthy. That's not what Jesus Christ said. That's not what Buddha would say. Not what other great folks of wisdom in or out of religion would say. Let's say when you take care of the vulnerable, that a society is great, not just when it takes care of the richest, the most prestigious, but when it honors every single citizen, as having value in this nation. Well, brothers and sisters of Hardin County, of Kentucky, of the USA, of the world, I say let's get back to taking care of our neighbors as ourselves, loving them as ourselves. We are our brother's keepers. We're our sister's keepers. I'm going to keep up with that scripture. Now, I'm not going to preach about it in the political podium if you elect me, but that is the value that I hold dear. Sanctity of every person living. Y'all have a great night. And let's get back to where we don't govern by grievances, we govern by joy, love. Have a great night.